John chapter 19, verses 25 to 27. Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his own home. This is the word of the Lord.
A reflection of Mary, mother of Jesus. He was thinking of me even then. I couldn't believe it, yet I should have been surprised. It was just so like Jesus, the way he'd been from a boy, always putting others before himself. Despite everything he was going through, the awful stomach-wrenching agony which pierced my very soul, he was more concerned about me than himself. I remembered the words of an old man. It seemed so long ago now. He knew, that old man in the temple, he knew as I knew that this was no ordinary child. "A sword shall pierce your soul," he said. How true. And how many times was my heart gripped by fear at what might become of him, at what those who hated him might do. We had always been close, and even when I didn't understand him, I knew that we shared something momentous, awesome. So when he spoke to John and told him that I was to be his mother, from then on I knew that he was not only looking after my welfare or John's, but acknowledging that bond, the closeness we had always shared. And in that one single moment, I knew that what we shared would endure through all eternity. Yet I had still hoped that somehow he could have been spared this. He lived his whole life for everyone else. He's given enough already, hasn't he? Scarcely a moment for himself. The crowds always with him, clamouring, calling, pleading, demanding, enough to break any lesser man. And as if that wasn't enough, his enemies had always been there, stalking him, unable to conceal their hatred, watching his every move, waiting for their moment. He knew what they were up to, yet he continued without a murmur of complaint, always having time, always ready to respond. Nothing and no one outside his concern. I saw him so many times, just about all in, drained to the point of exhaustion, and I can't tell you how much it troubled me to see my wonderful boy pouring himself out in a constant act of sacrifice, pushing himself to the very limit. But it was useless to argue. I tried it sometimes, and he simply smiled at me in that gentle way of his, knowing I understood full well that there was no other way. He was right. I knew that, and I knew equally that there was no way he'd come down from that cross. But I could still hope, couldn't I? Still pray I might be wrong. He was thinking of others even then, not only me, but of a common thief hanging there beside him, and my fellow women, those who had accompanied him so often, all sobbing their hearts out. He was even thinking about those who hounded him to death, and the soldiers who had so cruelly beaten him and mocked him and driven those cruel nails into his battered body, praying for their forgiveness. In fact, he was thinking of everyone except himself.